Hi there, I am back. My name is Anna Maggie, and I had a baby almost 4 weeks ago, actually, 4 weeks ago to this day. And I wanted to share with you my birth story. If you hear any noises, it's my baby. He is literally 2 feet away from me. Babies make tons of noise, so you'll hear his little grunts and his noises throughout the video. But I do have a mic on just to kind of combat that. There's a lot of noises in the room, from his sound machine to the air purifier to the air conditioner. Lots of sound, so hopefully this helps. I just want to share with you my birth story. It is not at all what I had planned, not at all what my doctor planned, but fully under God's plan. So let's get into it. Also, the products that I'm using are the products that are in my postpartum glam bag. That's what I'm calling it. I have not dipped into my main makeup yet. I'm just really utilizing that, and it's totally fine for this look. So that's where I'm at. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm not gonna share the products so that I'll just list them down below. That way I can move a little bit quicker. So my birth story begins with an induction. I knew my whole pregnancy that my doctor was going to want to induce me just because of my age, and also she toward the end of my pregnancy there, I did I believe get preeclampsia. So it's something that she wanted me to go ahead and get induced for. But I was induced at 39 weeks and 5 days. So I was very, very, very close to the due date. So we went into the hospital ready to get induced. And to be honest, people asked me beforehand, like, what was my birth plan? I didn't have one. I was putting all of my self into my doctor and her team's hands. I completely trust her fully to do that, and I don't regret doing that, because honestly, had I made a plan, it wouldn't have come to fruition, because every plan that even she made, my doctor did not go as planned. So I know people want to make a birth plan, but there's so many things that are out of your control. And I'm the type of person that I will hang on to that plan too much, and I will get very upset if those expectations are not met. So I decided to not make a plan. My husband and I decided to not make a plan and just go with the doctor's plan. So we get there on a Tuesday, and the first course of action was to see what I was dilated at. I was dilated at a 1 when I went into the hospital, and the doctor decided, the first plan was to try a medication called Servitel. The way she explained it was, it's basically like a shoestring with the medicine that they sort of wrap around or tie around your cervix, and it is going to open up the cervix and soften it for it to dilate. So that was the first plan of action. I got there around 3 or 4. That didn't go in until like 8 p.m. And she did say that it was a full 12-hour process. So I had to have that thing in there 12 hours. And it is exactly what it sounds like a shoestring hanging out. So we did that. And that first night, I experienced so many contractions. They have you like on a little monitor, and you can see all your contractions. And they were very, very, I was very, very much like as if I was in active labor. Um, so yeah, I was contracting all night long. It started off slow and then it built up just like it would normally, like for someone who doesn't have that in there and is just going into labor. It built up to have about like a 1 to 2 minute contraction every 1 to 2 minutes. So all night long, it was rough. But I kept telling myself, with every contraction, you're getting closer. This is how it's supposed to be. And they were painful, very much painful. But they, to me, it was like, it's just mental that I was just like, I can do this. It's going to be okay. So I was just breathing through it. And yeah, my husband, was there with me, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm just breathing through. Like, I was so excited at that point. And to be honest, it was pretty peaceful. Like, it's as peaceful as your mentality will let you, like I told myself, like, this is a part of labor. There will be blood, there will be pain, but that's what one has to go through. So I do think like your mindset matters. So yeah, I contracted, as I said, but it was a very peaceful night. Like, I had low music on, I had some worship music. Low lights. I had some worship music on. It was peaceful. It was a peaceful night, even though it was very painful and I was contracting all night long. So in the morning, and every time they would come and they would check, and I was like, am I in active labor yet? And they were like, we won't know until we check how far you're dilated. And they didn't want to check me till the morning. So I was like, okay. So 8 o'clock rolled around in the morning, and it was time for them to check. So the nurse came in and she checked, and I was dilated at a 1. I did not move. I did not progress. And that was so disheartening, because again, when I hold on to a plan, i.e. the Cervidil plan, I fully expect that plan is going to work. But when it doesn't work, you're left like crushed and like disheartened, right? Because you're just like, what the heck? And I told my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, all that work, all those contractions, and like nothing, kind of like that song, all that work, what did it get me? So she's like, don't worry, when the doctor gets here, we'll come up with a new plan. I'm like, yeah, okay. So since I was still contracting, my body thought that I was still in labor. Even though my cervix was not opening, I was having active contractions like every couple of minutes. And they were very painful. So they decided to remove everything from me so that I wouldn't have those painful contractions, because they weren't serving me, right? I was not dilating for the contractions to be that painful. So they removed me from everything. I always feel like I can put on a lot of blush and I'll be wide awake. So anyway, they removed me from everything. They put me on like the ball, the pregnancy ball, and they're like, just get comfortable, doctor will be in later. So I did. They left me like that for the majority of the day, because even though they took me off everything, they removed the Cervidil, I was still contracting, and pretty hard, which is weird. Like, half of my body accepted and then the other half did not. It was very strange. So yeah, after that, the doctor came in the afternoon. So it was like all day that they removed me from everything, because they needed my body to like calm back down. And it was not like not until the end of the day where my doctor came, and she was like, okay, your body is finally not stopped contracting, but stopped at the advanced, like at like contracting every 1 minute or 1 to 2 minutes. So yeah, when that happened, she came in and she's like, we're gonna do what we call a cock spa. So you may have heard of the Foley ball, where they put one like a balloon, and put it near your cervix and they inflate it. Well, the cock balls, I believe it's cock balls. It's two balloons, or two balloons that they inflate on between your cervix, and it's meant to, again, open you up, dilate you, soften the cervix, all those things. So they put that in there probably around 6 p.m. that night. And then the doctor said it's another 12-hour process, so we'll be back in the morning, which is always fun. So, okay, another night, another round of contractions, another round of like another plan, another possibility, another hope, another expectation. So yeah, we tucked in again. Your mindset really matters. My mindset was, with every contraction, I'm gonna feel that it's progressing. But I had a little bit more, a little bit less expectation this time, because that's what I kept telling myself the day before. And yeah, that didn't happen. So I was just trying to be more positive, but at the same time, pragmatic, or is that the word? Like realistic. That full night came and went. Again, contractions, pain. And again, even though it was painful, I still say it was peaceful. Like, it's hard to explain, but you know that there's gonna be this pain, but through it all, it's still like as peaceful of an environment as it can be. My husband and I were trying to, like, play around, trying to joke, trying to be playful with each other so that it could go a lot quicker. That's one thing about my husband. He's so playful, and I appreciate that so much. So, then 8 in the morning, or no, I'm sorry, 6 in the morning comes, and the nurse, she checks to see if they remove the cox balls, and they check to see if I'm dilated anymore. And she checks, and she's like, I think she said that I was dilated to a 3. And I was like, what? I was like, 2 nights, like, I fully felt these contractions. Like, what do you mean? Like, a contraction means your body is opening. Like, with every contraction, your cervix is opening. So I'm like, it can't be 2 nights of this and nothing. But she's like, let me get another nurse in here to double check. So they brought in another nurse, and she said the same thing. She was like, yeah, it's there, but it's not there. And I was like, girls, get it together. So they kept saying 3, maybe 3 or 4. And I was like, okay, we're advancing some, but not enough. So my doctor did a huddle over the phone, and she's like, okay, Anna, if you're not where you need to be when I get there, we're going to go ahead and remove everything and send you home, because your body is not reacting, but you're contracting, which, it's counterproductive. And I was like, okay. So I was hoping and praying that I didn't have to go home, because it just felt like I would have to start all over. So she gets there, and like around 7, she gets there around 7, and she's like, this is on Thursday morning. Gets there around 7, and she's like, you have an anterior placenta. So the nurses are not they're not looking for the right thing, or something like that. So I was like, okay, a little bit of hope. And she's like, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to check, because she knew what to look for. She obviously had known, my situation, or, she knows what to look for down there. So doctor checks me, and she says that I am dilated to a 5. And I was like, hallelujah, amazing. I knew it. Like, yes. She's like, okay, so today, now that you're dilated, let's go ahead and keep it going. I was like, okay, what's the next plan? she's like, we're going to start you on Pitocin. Well, I had heard from everyone that Pitocin is very painful, even though I had already had painful contractions. Um, that was one thing that everyone kept telling me as they heard that I was getting induced. They were like, Pitocin is very painful. If you get that, get the epidural. And I was like, okay. So, in a perfect world, I would have loved to not have an epidural and not be induced, but we don't live in a perfect world. So, when she said Pitocin, I said, okay, I want to go ahead and get the epidural as well, because I didn't want that pain from the Pitocin. And so she said, okay. She said, while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and, break your water. That right there is where I probably wouldn't have done that, because once you break the water, you're on a time frame, because the baby cannot be without water. Not that if I were to do anything, I wouldn't do that, but I would just be a little bit more mindful of the time crunch that we put us in, that essentially that's what that did. The guy with the epidural comes in, he gives me the epidural. It is not as painful as I thought, as some people made it to seem, but I have a very high pain tolerance, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, so he gave me the epidural. He kicked my husband out because he said that many husbands have fainted and they cannot help them, like him or the nurses cannot help them because they're helping, mom. So they went ahead and kicked him out, which I'm like, good, because he doesn't do needles, so it all works out anyway. So yeah, got the epidural. Oh my gosh. With the epidural, there was no pain. There was no contractions. I get why people want to do it. I told my husband, I was like, I feel like I experienced everything that you can experience in terms of labor. I experienced contractions. I experienced the epidural and no contractions. It was marvelous. I will not lie. So yeah, got the epidural. They busted my water, and then they put me with the peanut ball in between my legs so that I could continue to progress it. So they started me off on a slower, lower level of Pitocin, and then they were going to build me up. The only issue so all day long, like I said, that was happening so she busted my water around 8 p.m. and she was like, you could have this baby today. And I was like, okay, yay. I was on the Pitocin all day long. And then around 6 p.m., I noticed that they kept taking my temperature a little bit more than usual. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, well, your temperature is you're starting to get a bit of a fever. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I'll talk to the doctor and we'll huddle and do a little kumbaya, whatever. And I was like, okay. So the doctor came in she called because she was on call. And she's like, the worry is that you are getting a fever and you could have an infection and that will carry on to the baby. And I was like, okay, like what do you suggest? And around 6 o'clock is when we were on the phone with her. She said that we were also on a time crunch with the water breaking, that because she broke it at 8:30, that by 8:30 p.m. the baby would have to be out. And I was still dilated at a 5. And I was like, okay, I'm not progressing. Like at this point it's 6. There's no way, 6 p.m. There's no way I'm going to go from a 5 to a 10 in 2 hours, because baby had to be out by 8. So I was like, what do you suggest? And she said, she suggested a C-section. She was on the phone with us, and that was hard. Like hearing that, I was like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, we just have to take into consideration that you could give the baby a fever. an infection. So I said, okay, let me talk this over with my husband. And my mom was there as well. And we'll get back to you. So she's like, okay, make it quick because I'm on call, I'm at home, and it's going to take me a while to get there. And again, if if you make the decision not to get a C-section, I'm sorry. Yeah, she's like, at 8 o'clock, if you don't dilate, we will have to give you an emergency C-section, and it won't be me because I'll be at home. So I was like, okay, lots of factors going into this decision. But I talked to my husband, and I was like, what do you think? And he was like, well, I just want the baby out. And I was like saying, like, I just want the baby here. And I talked with my whole family members. We prayed about it. We listened to worship music. We sang. We tried to get, you know, any kind of revelation or confirmation from God. And the verse that I got, I'll share it here. But it was basically like, God makes the decisions. Like, he's the one who decides if we're dying or living. I think it's Ecclesiastes 3. And at that point, I was like, you know what? God started this way back then when I got pregnant, and he will see it through to completion. So we decided to move forward with the C-section. I called her back, and she said, I'm on my way. She's like, it'll take me a minute, a while to get there, but they're going to go ahead and start prepping you and moving you to the other room, to the OR. So I was like, okay. They prepped my husband. They put him on a little gown as well because he was going to be there with me. And they rolled me into the room. And, not long later, my doctor gets there, and I love my doctor so much. I put my trust in her, but I put my full trust in God, because even her plans did not succeed, but God's plan succeeded the whole way. So I'm laying down. They have the curtain up to block you from seeing the goriness that is to come. And I feel a little scratch on the right side of my tummy. And I'm like, I felt something. And my doctor's like, what did you feel? And I said, well, I felt something sharp. And then I felt another something sharp on the left side of my tummy. And I was like, I felt something sharp on the left side. So when she said that, obviously I could feel what was happening on my tummy, but I didn't clock that yet. But everyone else did. So the anesthesiologist gave me more, whatever it is that they give you. And then she tried again. I felt the scratching again. They gave me more medicine. I felt the scratching again. They gave me more medicine. This happened 3 times. So by the 3rd time, the anesthesiologist whispered, because she's literally, like, as you're laying down, she's literally right here in your ear. And the other nurse, like, she's here and the other nurse is here. And she's like, I think you need to go fully under. And I was like, under what? Like, what? And she was like, yeah, you're still feeling it. And I think I had too much adrenaline. I was like, wait, I told the nurse, I said, wait a minute, where's my husband? Like, we need to make this decision together. And she goes, okay, I'll go get it. She said, I'll go. I think she either said, tell him or get him. I don't know. But she didn't mean that she was going to bring him in and we were going to talk about it. They were going to put me under whether I liked it or not, whether I consented or not, because at that point, it was like 7:10 or something. I was still feeling the sensations on my belly. So I would definitely feel that C-section. So she left, and I thought she was going to go get my husband. From my husband's account, she went to go tell him something's wrong, which I'm like, whoever starts off a sentence like that. She told him that I was going to go fully under, like they had already made that decision. So I'm laying down, and I see coming like off the shadow this way to my right is an oxygen mask. I think it's oxygen because I can feel my body trembling on the table. Like, I can feel myself shaking. And I think, okay, they're going to give me oxygen to like calm me down. No. That was the anesthesia. As it was coming, I saw it and it stopped like right here in front of me. And I'm like, oh, I see it. It's like right here. And I say, oh, hey, this isn't all the way on. So I literally grabbed the mask and put it over my mouth, thinking it's oxygen. And that's all I remember. I put the anesthesia on myself. I put it on. I was out. They did what they had to do. I don't even know. And then next thing I know, I'm being woken up and I'm being, moved from the operating table to, I guess, like the recovery room. And I see my husband and I'm like, what happened? Like, where's the baby? Because I can feel that the baby's not there on me, in me. And he has the baby. He's doing skin to skin with the baby. And he's like, he's right here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he's like, the baby's getting a little fussy. And the nurse is like, did you want to breastfeed? And I was like, well, I did. She just grabbed that baby, put him on my breast. The baby latched immediately. And before I knew it, seconds coming out of the OR, I was breastfeeding and doing skin to skin on my new baby without even fully being aware. I was asking the nurse tons of questions. Well, I thought I was asking questions. My husband was like, you were kind of mumbling things. Yeah. And doing skin to skin, breastfeeding my baby, holding my baby for the first time, realizing that they did the C-section and I was asleep, So yeah, that was my birth story. After that, it was like I had to stay there in the recovery room for a couple of hours to make sure that I was fine. They did tests on baby. He was perfect. And then around 10:30, they went ahead and wheeled me up to our recovery room where we were gonna stay at, the delivery room, I guess. And yeah, it was like 11 o'clock at night by the time we settled into our new room and we met the nurse. She was saying so much and I was like, I'm not getting anything that you're saying, lady. Like, I just got out of major surgery. I have this baby. I'm exhausted because at this point I had been up for 2 days laboring with the contractions, not fully sleeping. And then this was Thursday evening. This was Thursday, like at 11 p.m. And I had been up like all day, So I'm like, I am not picking up what you're putting down. I still, to this day, I don't know what she said. I don't know. She was just giving us like facts about the room, the hospital, the hospital, like who was going to come in and out, what her role was, I guess. I don't know. I asked my husband and he was also like, I was exhausted because he was experiencing everything with me as well. Like no one ever says that, like your partner will experience you labor right alongside you. They may not experience the actual physical pain, but their pain is different because they're seeing you in pain, So it just gives you a newfound love for your partners. So yeah, that was my birth story. Totally not what I expected, but fully in God's plan, and not my plan nor my doctor's plan, but God's plan prevailed that day. So I just want to encourage you. I know it's important to have a plan for labor, and if it will help you, go ahead and do it. But for me, I knew it would hinder me. I knew that I would unrealistically stick to that plan or attach myself to that plan, and my expectations would be shattered. So I knew for myself not to make a plan. But yeah, I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that we relied on our team, our doctor and her team, but also at the end of it, I know that I fully relied on God, and his plan did prevail. So I just want to give you that encouragement. If you're pregnant or if you're thinking of having a baby, everything is so left up to chance that it's not really chance, it's God's choice, or it's God's plan, and you just have to go with it. That's what I tell myself. And now I have this beautiful baby boy that I wouldn't change for the world. So yeah, I'll share with you my emotions and thoughts and feelings behind all that. Right now, I just wanted to share with you the actual story. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll chat with y'all soon.